Good to go. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I know it's that late afternoon slot. That's kind of that magical time, right, when the coffee's starting to wear off, and we're between you guys and happy hour. But so we'll try to make this really interesting for you guys. So, thank you for choosing this session. We promise to make, compliant AI-driven personalization sound as exciting as it actually is. And if you don't believe that's possible, well, challenge accepted. So by the end of this, you'll have some practical takeaways to go back to your team with some strategies that we're going to discuss today, and hopefully a few one-liners to impress your chief compliance officer. So now let me introduce the brains of the operations here. We've got a really good panel that we're excited to introduce you to. So first up, we have Jamie Etherington from the VP of Digital at Welby Financial. He's a digital transformation leader whose work focuses on scaling secure, compliant operations in his firm. And on a personal note, Jamie is an avid hiker. When we all met up last night talking about today's panel, he actually decided to take the stairs down to the hotel. So he went down all 14 flights of stairs. And as he got to the emergency exit door, there's a big sign that said, "Alarm will sound." So being a good chap, he actually walked right back up, I think about 6 flights of stairs. So poor guy. He got his steps in, though. So that's good. Next, we have John Price. He's a technical architect over at the C2 Experience, one of our partners at Optimizely. And he's been at the intersection of technology and strategy for financial services firms for years. And he helps organizations kind of make sense of all those AI buzzwords that we've been hearing about and actually turn them into actionable strategies. So actually making these things happen in real life. And last but not least, we've got Lauren Andersma. And she's a seasoned digital marketing executive, also at the C2 Experience Group, whose work focuses on bringing together those creative teams and those strategic teams together to make a cohesive digital strategy. And in her spare time, she's a pretty mean gardener. She specializes in farming squash at her hobby farm in Michigan. All right. So with that lineup, we've got expertise spanning compliance, innovation, and execution. So kind of like the Holy Trinity. And so we'll start off with a few framing questions for our panel here today. And we'll leave time towards the end for audience question and answers. So if you have any questions, just jot them down. We'll take them over at the end. And the more specific, the better. So Jameson, I will start with you. And what I wanted to ask you around the data and personalization space today is that, what challenges do you face specifically with AI adoption at your firm?
Yeah, I think there's a few parts to it. So first, we are looking at our internal teams, and there's different comfort levels across the various divisions that we have. So I work in the technology team. I partner closely with our marketing team. We're very comfortable with the thought of using AI to improve our processes and to achieve our business goals. There's some other teams that aren't as comfortable. So it really is on us to partner with them and kind of clear up any misconceptions that they might have and build that comfort level for them. I think also we're working across, these teams are working across disparate systems that might be legacy. They might be not having any AI capabilities today, or they might be trying to jump into it. And so really understanding the maturity level of the different platforms that we have, that's a challenge. And I think the last thing is regulatory. And so in our last 2 annual NCUA exams, the regulators have asked us questions about AI, but they have told us that they don't really know how they're going to regulate it in the future. And so I think that's a little bit of something that's on our minds for us to think, what can we do in AI, or how will it be regulated in the future? How can we prepare for something that we don't quite know about today?
Yeah, that's super interesting, right? Because you've got all these different tools. They have different levels of adoption. As a user of those technologies, like how do you figure out like the different levels of capability of AI in those tools? How do you bring them all together, right, and stitch them together in a cohesive fashion? And I guess as well, like what role do you see like AI playing, helping your team specifically in some of the goals that you have? Like what role do you see it playing?
Yeah, I think right now we're really looking into personalization, and I think AI will help us to automate that personalization. So in the past, we've known personalization is a big way to push things through our funnel, and we need to do it in a less manual way.
Got it. Okay. And I guess for the rest of the panel, like what do you feel is holding back most, FinServs and other institutions from delivering that true one-to-one personalization these days?
Yeah, I can go. So in addition to some of the challenges that Jamie has just mentioned, we've heard from a lot of our customers that they have some challenges around their legacy system, siloed data, strict compliance regulations, and also staffing. And when we hear this from our customers, we work with them on facilitating internal conversations to be able to work through some of these challenges that they have because it's mostly based off of silos. So we work with them, we help them facilitate conversations around alignment when it comes to goals and KPIs. We help them with integrating platforms, processes, and data. And then when we are looking to move forward with personalization, which has been a big focus for a lot of our customers, we talk to them about getting compliance involved early and often because the more they're involved, the less opportunity there is for there to be an unexpected hurdle that will be, that would present itself later on in the process right before you're about to go live.
Yeah, and I think that's what I hear most is that trust of the content that's coming back from the AI, trust that it's checked all the correct marks to be compliant, specifically in financial services. And so I think you both pretty much said that it's how do we trust this content that we're getting, and then apply that to personalization, because that one-to-one personalization, I think you mentioned your legacy systems. When you have disparate systems of data, you need some sort of platform, some sort of customer data platform to bring all that data together so you can really generate those personalization campaigns. So that's another area that we help customers approach, getting a customer data platform in place to take multiple systems, legacy systems, integrate it all together into a single unified object of who that customer is.
Yeah, and just for a show of hands, I guess in the audience, like who here, raise your hand if you guys are doing any kind of like personalization on your public-facing digital properties. Anybody? Personalization? Okay. So it's really interesting because I used to build websites back in like 1996, basically when I was a kid, and seen this industry change for over 30 years. And literally the term personalization has been around since then. And I think the same number of hands have actually been raised in the room since then. And so what is this like age-old challenge with personalization, right? We've been talking about personalization other sessions. I know we've had folks talking about it as well. And it seems to be the same blockers, right? It's like having access to the data, having trust within the organization around being able to use that data in a safe and compliant fashion. And of course, in financial services, it's even harder. But I think one of the things that we're seeing that could actually break through in this vision of, maturity levels of personalization as we go on to something we call one-to-one personalization. I think with literally with the AI that we've seen advance and adopt in the last few years, it might actually be really that first glimmer of the possibility of driving truly like one-to-one personalized experiences. And if you really think about it, like when you interact with like a chatbot or you interact with ChatGPT in those platforms, that's really the penultimate example of a one-to-one experience, right? It's totally personalized in the history of the things that you're working on. It knows your behavior, it knows your past things, and I think it's going to be pretty incredible what we see in the next few years. And the things that we're actually developing with our clients and partners now in that agentic space is really getting to that level. Much more than chatbots, but even just the overall digital experience that we have on sites, mobile apps, and so forth. So it is definitely an interesting time, but it also comes with some of those compliance concerns, right? So I guess, John, for you, and from your perspective, right, like what technology or workflow changes have had the biggest impact on speeding up and ensuring, that compliance, within the content delivery space?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned, Lauren, that a lot of customers that we work with are creating content in silos. You have a brand and marketing team, you have a content creation team, you have the team that's getting the content out to different channels, whether it be your social channels or to your actual website for marketing, as well as then compliance and legal to make sure that everything is in check. And so I do think one of the biggest breakthroughs is having a content marketing platform to take all those silos to work in one area. So now everybody's working with content in one spot. They can create content, approve content, review content, and everything else. And I think, punchline, I think AI is kind of there to just elevate that even further. You mentioned that we could give some, little words that you could maybe take back and sound smart. Don't know if you've heard it today, but the word that comes to mind for me is, specifically when it comes to compliance and making sure that the content that AI is generating is compliant, is RAG. I don't know if anybody's heard that term here today, but that's retrieve, augment, generate. With a platform like that we help customers implement called Opal from Optimizely, you have Google Gemini kind of running behind the scenes, and you have your own kind of enterprise session of that where none of your content is shared with anybody else. And it has a RAG system built in there that you can then start to feed with as much data as you need, SEC rules, FINRA rules, GDPR compliance checks, so that as content is being generated to be used in whatever channel you're looking to use it in, that content is being checked. It's, you're asking the LLM, the GPT, or the AI to generate something. That content that it gets is then augmented with your specific rules and compliance and things that it needs to check, and then is returned to you, and you can have at least some level of confidence that you've got the right messaging with the right level of checks against it. Now, we would always recommend that somebody is reviewing it, but you could maybe speed up those review cycles by making sure that the content that you're delivering is going to come right back to you and not spin through multiple legal reviews and bounce back and forth.
Yep, indeed. And yeah, it's interesting. One of the projects that we started working on with the top 5, insurer in the London market was something similar to that. So they spend a huge amount of time just having like audits of what is the disclosures and the different product information on their site. So penultimate problem, right? Getting the right disclosures. And we actually built an agent for them in one day that goes through, creates an automated workflow that constantly scans the website and looks at the disclosures, makes sure that's the right proper disclosure for the financial products they have, and then generates a report out for folks to do that. And that just saves a huge amount of analyst time. And the next thing we're working on with those folks as well is to actually have something during the content generation phase. They're looking at how agents can actually generate, obviously the marketing assets, the content, and so forth in a faster fashion using generative AI. And as you were saying with RAG, you can actually insert those instructions, those guidelines, to actually even suggest what are the right disclosures, and in addition to making sure all the content is on brand and on target.
Yeah, put your brand voice in there as well, so you can kind of take all that together and deliver something that's delivery ready.
Exactly. And maybe show of hands from the audience. Who's actually used any generative tools for generating copy, generating writing, any support like that? And for those of you who raise hand, and is that any of that copy on your website now? Keep your hands up still. Nice. All right, great. Okay, about 20% adoption. Awesome. Yeah. And I guess any other impacts that you guys see in the compliance perspective you'd like to share? Anything from your sides on the same topic?
I think something on my mind is looking at channel parity. And so it's not only the digital side of it, but we have to make sure that digital is speaking the same language that our team members are speaking whenever our members walk into a branch. We just have to make sure that that's unified across the board in that messaging.
Got it. No, really good. Okay. And now, I guess one of the topics du jour around AEO, GEO, that's the thing that's become really popular is, traffic patterns change, and we have to adapt our efforts around that as well. So I guess, question for you, Lauren, how do AEO and GEOs, kind of shift the mindset from how we go from campaign-based marketing to kind of always-on kind of adaptive experiences?
Yeah, and I love this question because search plays a huge role in our marketing strategies. And as it continues to change, one thing that we talk about often with our customers is we need to evolve with it. So as it's evolving, we have to think about how we can connect with our customers and our members, and how AEO and GEO are going to change that process. When you think about how we run marketing campaigns right now, instead of setting a campaign up, letting it run for a couple weeks, and then adjusting based off of the results that you're seeing, with these tools now, we're able to learn and adjust in real time. We're able to get relative content out sooner than ever before. So when you think about AEO, what it's doing is it's fine-tuning existing experiences, whether it's messaging or offerings or content, for example, but it's all based off of consumer behaviors. And with GEO, it's taking it to the next level. We're able to now create new compliant content on the fly. So when we think about what that means, we're able to create a marketing experience that's dynamic and always on, but it's also responsive to the customer in that moment that they're in right now. So it's more on their timing versus on your timing as a brand.
Yeah, and I think from a technical side, it's less about watching constant click tracking. I don't know. Has anybody checked how they rank within the zero click area of Google? I don't know if you guys have watched yourself in that area and see if you're showing up there. So it's like a whole new kind of thought. Like SEO is important. I still think you're still going to get clicks from lower down in the search results, but that zero click area is now kind of like the area that everybody wants to rank in. And there are some practical things that a marketing team can have in place to make sure that that happens. So some of it comes from SEO. So making sure that you have, if you're using like a structure schema on your site to define the content that's on your site, some sort of metadata that says this is an article and this is the author and it's this whole structured schema markup. I don't know if anybody's really played with that much, but that's a good way to rank within that zero click area. And then having content that is authoritative and answers questions. So more FAQ style content helps push up into that area. And that really helps with the AEO getting you into the answer engines, but then to be seen, as an authoritative sort of response, that more GEO side of things, making sure that you've also included that long form content that's easily attributable to something that is factual, some sort of source that would be seen as a reputable source. That's how you would start to push your rankings within the GEO side of things, and making sure that not only can people find you when they search in that zero click area, but then within other content that is generated, making sure that your concepts and ideas fall in that content as well.
Yeah, very interesting topic, isn't it? And so pop question for the group in the audience. This kind of goes into why AEO and GEO works the way it is. But who knows the number one training source for the modern LLMs that power all these models in terms of what website actually powers lots of it? Anybody who knows? Anybody? Reddit. Reddit provided about 30 to 40% of all the training data for the frontier models from OpenAI, Gemini, and so forth. So anybody been on Reddit? Anybody know what Reddit is? Yeah, it's the thing you look at your phone late at night when you're like, how do I deal with this weird thing or in my life, right? Then you go into like that kind of subculture work, right? Subculture world. And so think about that. Like the LLMs basically half the time are gonna like use Reddit as its source of information. And what does Reddit look like, right? Reddit's like a forum, looks like any kind of a forum. So think about that when you architect the content and your content strategy and how like those question answer pairs, right, that John was talking about, that's the kind of thing that you need to do to gain relevance and really get into the AI version of the search results, get that ranking. So I guess another show of hands, who has actually done some work to actually create AEO and GEO specific content on their sites? Have you guys started developing that? Show of hands. Great. Excellent. Okay. Got to do it, because I guarantee if you talk to your Google Analytics folks and your analytics folks and you start analyzing your web traffic, huge cliff in terms of like actual click-through, and that's what's causing it, right? Is because folks, and especially the younger you are, the data shows that you're actually not clicking through things, you're just looking at the results that are provided to you from the answer engines or ChatGPT and those platforms, so you're not getting any click-through. So I think one of the things we can chat about back over at the booth, the Optimizely booth, and talk with our partners too, is around not just how you structure this content, but in a circular kind of fashion now. We have our clients who are using our own agents to generate that type of content in that question and answer style, those FAQs, based on the content you already have, based on your brand guidelines and the information there. We have agents that will develop those FAQs and that question and answer style content so that you can actually speed up this process of kind of revitalizing and renovating your content and all your sites to have that question and answer format so it's more easily discoverable, right? So again, just thinking how agents can help us. And I guess just to go back a little bit further, I guess question for the panel. So in terms of like, measuring success, like how are some ways that, we can measure AEO and GEO success beyond just like traditional engagement metrics? Do you guys have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think in the beginning we were kind of talking about teams being in silos, and what we need to do is unify those teams into some type of overarching metric that measures the sales funnel efficiency. So we need to look at sales funnel velocity, throughput, things like that, and make sure that everyone understands that we all own the sales funnel. It's not only a marketing thing or an operations thing or a technology thing. And so I think if we can get everyone on board looking at that same metric, all rowing in the same direction, I think that's where we can really come to agreement on where that return on this investment comes in.
Right. Fantastic. Yeah, and I think one of the future trends that we're seeing and we're kind of preparing for in our own software practice is that, the future looks like right now that agents are going to be able to, obviously search, gather information, gather answers for you, all we've been talking about in this world. And what we're actually looking at for our clients who focus more on commercial transactions or have applications like things like signing up for an account or for a loan or things like that, is the future world is actually going to have agents doing those things on your behalf. It sounds completely crazy, but if you've used the more later versions of ChatGPT and things like that, you can have a shopping agent. It'll go and shop for you. It'll book travel experiences for you. And so as we prepare for that in the financial services industry, right, that just opens up a whole another world of, a can of worms, as you will, from a compliance perspective and a security perspective. Have you guys ever started thinking about stuff like that in like an agentic world for, actually, maybe even creating agents? I was talking with the CMO of Dell, and she was saying that we have agents as a full-fledged persona. That is a persona for them now, right? It's not just like, this type of buyer, small, medium-sized business, but actual agentic AI, right? And catering to them like a first-class citizen in their personas. So yeah, any thoughts in that regard or stuff that you're seeing? Yeah.
Yeah, we're dipping our toes into it. So we have a few pieces in place right now that help us with loan decisioning and things like that. So really just starting to go in that direction, not full-fledged agents, but more, I guess, agents that are assisting the team members today who are working through those processes. But our goal is more automation, more throughput, free up the team members to do the more complex things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Very interesting. Okay. Well, and I guess, looking ahead, I guess, 3 to 5 years from now, I guess, any thoughts, what will, shape and separate the leaders from the laggards in terms of, AI capabilities in this industry in the next 3 to 5 years? Anything you guys are keeping track of or following?
So I think it's not going to be the technology. I think that's already there, and it's going to continue at a massive clip of getting smarter and smarter and smarter. I think that overall it's going to be the team that uses it and puts governance around it and has it working for them. That's going to be the biggest driving factor of success of a successful team in marketing online using AI. One of the biggest concerns that I hear a lot of people talk about is how, if I already have silos of a marketing team that's creating content, a product team that's owning the data, and operational team that is managing the government, adding AI on top of it for each of those just creates more silos. So communication and governance around those and having that in place is going to be kind of the big driving force for success.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think it's hard to think about 3 to 5 years within this space for AI. I try to think about it in 3 to 5 weeks because it's not going anywhere and it's just going to continue to grow. And some people are ready for it and some aren't. And I think that you just have to understand it and you have to welcome it, but you also need to, kind of work the way to find success is to have a plan on how you want to leverage it and then think about how you're going to measure the success and then just continue to evolve with it. It's going to be a moving target. It's not going anywhere. So it's just how can you leverage it to help you achieve your goals and how do you plan that within your roadmap when you think about your marketing strategies or what you're being tasked with from your leadership around growth or revenue. How can AI can help you move you to that next level?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. Well, we're nearing the end of today's session, so I did want to leave some time at the end for questions from the audience. So, is there any questions the panel had around this far-reaching conversation around AI and personalization and data? Any questions from the audience? Okay. Well, I did have some additional things we could maybe chat through about, and one of those things is, I guess, Jamie, you started talking about, sales funnel efficiency a little bit, right? We talked about that a bit. So I guess if you could expand upon that, maybe, specific use cases, looking at these like disparate systems, like what are some tools and tactics I guess you've done to like holistically bring that together for efficiency in the funnel? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a slide for it if we can pull that up on the screen.
Do you mind presenting on the screen? There it is.
There we
There-
go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, essentially, whenever we look at the sales funnel and we talk about everyone owning it, what we're really trying to do at Wellbe is break down the silos. The silos aren't only in our internal teams, but they're in the processes, the platforms, even with our partners. And so we don't want to have just a one-to-one relationship with each partner that owns a piece of the sales funnel. We really want to bring the partners together so that they're working across their organizations for our benefit. So a great example of this was a couple months ago. We brought in Optimizely, the C2 group, and a marketing agency named Forthia on site. And originally, each one of these partners had a set of goals that they were working on for us. And we thought, why don't we bring everyone into the room together so we're all speaking the same language, all working towards the same goals. It was a great event. We had a lot of great conversations, a lot of good thought leadership there. And during part of the day, two of the vendors said, hey, why don't we just work together? We don't always need to go through Wellbe. We know what they want, and we can do this part, and you can do that part. And so it really just solidified the idea that we have to break down these silos for our business goals.
Oh, excellent. No, thanks for sharing that. And I guess as we wrap this session up, I guess if you could measure just one marketing KPI, they could, that you would anchor around as a tenant to really prove ROI to your executive team, what would it be and why? And I'd love to get everybody's opinion on what that one, KPI would be.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I would look at the sales funnel throughput. So whenever I partner with our marketing team, something that I've told them is if our funnel doesn't work efficiently, it doesn't matter how much you put in the top of it, it's not going to work. And so what we have to do is measure it from, if we look at the slide, from the cloud before it even hits the funnel, all the way through, and then into our nurturing campaigns even after the sale closes. If we can measure that complete throughput from top to bottom, I think that's our leading KPI.
Got it. Very interesting.
I would say customer lifetime value, and mainly because it directly impacts revenue and ROI for a company versus conversion. So when thinking about when you're building out your marketing campaigns, what's going to help you reach that bottom line that you're working towards, I think the lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah, and I'm going to approach it more from a technical side, being a technical architect, but I feel like accuracy and verifiability of data on your site, that would be a KPI that I would like to see measured and constantly reviewed and verified.
Awesome. Well, I know we're running out of time, so I want to thank all of you for your time on the panel. Would also like to recommend you guys stop by the Optimizely booth if you'd like to talk to John and Lauren. We are able to chat through some bit of the AEO and GEO topics we have, so if you'd like to have a workshop with the team there at C2, that's something that they're offering. Also sign up. You can try to win a big Yeti cooler that we didn't bring because it's massive, but that's part of the raffle. And yeah, really thank you for your time today, and yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right.